Yeah, so we had a panel discussion this morning, and five people on the panel. So I was moderating the session, and we really did a bit of a deep dive into what's happening with exploration appraisal, and then also unpacking some of the possibilities for bringing those discoveries into development. So we heard voices from some of the smaller companies. And then we also had Azul there, so a company backed by E&I and BP. So it was a good overview. 25 exploration appraisal wells drilled in the past 3.5 years in the Orange Basin in Namibia. The learning curve from the subsurface point of view has really moved on tremendously. I think it is true to say that Namibia is an exploration hotspot, and it remains an exploration hotspot, and it's got the interest of explorers across the world in the Cretaceous deep water play, and lots of excitement. But also, one of the things that we see is there's a lot of variability in the rocks as well. So still plenty to do when it comes to exploration. And then looking ahead to development, there's still a long way to go, but lots and lots of promise, lots of opportunity. Yeah, so currently there's been, just in the past 3.5 years, 25 wells drilled, but there's runway for plenty more, because there's a lot more, there's a lot of different play types within Namibia. That's one of the findings of the recent drilling activity. So even in a single block, you can get lots of different types of prospects to go after. We've seen that across really all of the blocks that have been well explored. So you've got different parts of the basin, but within certain parts of the basin, you've got different play types. So plenty scope for more exploration, more appraisal. Certainly in the case of the Galp acreage and the Rhino blocks, more opportunities there for exploration, appraisal, drilling. So we've had 25 wells, but certainly scope for sort of dozens and dozens of more wells to fully explore and appraise the Namibian part of the basin. That's before we even get across the border into South Africa, where there's really tremendous potential there as well. So I think the first point to make is that from 2022 until now, on all of the exploration appraisal activities, if you add up, all of the activity and how much companies have spent in the basin, it's probably somewhere between $1.5 to $2 billion. So it's a really significant activity, really significant investment. But when you start to look at some of the numbers for the full potential to develop the discoveries, you're looking at tens of billions of dollars. So the Venus project alone, and you're looking at a floating production storage offloading vessel, all of the related subsea, or the infrastructure that comes with that, somewhere between $5 billion, $10 billion for multiple FPSO projects. That's just going to accumulate. So I think the first point to make is the magnitude of the investment and activity. It really steps up when you move from exploration into development stage. So from a Namibia's point of view, this has been immense what's happened with exploration, but it's going to level up when it comes to development. In terms of the potential, if you look at some of the main discoveries that are looking very promising, so the one that's most advanced is the Venus discovery with TotalEnergies, and they've now defined what a potential FPSO might look like, number of wells, and really starting to sort of define that project a lot better. So that's just one FPSO. Potentially, could there be a second FPSO there? It's perhaps a little bit early to say, but that's a possibility. On the Mopane discovery, the structure there, sort of potentially a couple of FPSOs in sort of northwest and southeast hubs. So that's something that we might see. And then on the Rhino discoveries, whether is there some early oil project, or is there an FPSO around a Capricornus discovery? And then just yesterday we heard the announcement about the Valance discovery. So potentially one or two oil or gas condensate projects there. And that's really just talking about the oil or the liquids as well, because what we're expecting is the initial development focus is to be liquids driven or primarily oil focused. But a little bit further down the road, what we often see in deep water projects is a further phase of development that then looks to unlock some of the gas resources. So that we can expect that to come as well. And potentially is that gas to shore to develop some power sector or industry perhaps, or something that we see quite extensively in Africa is LNG, or particularly floating LNG as well. So Africa, and particularly sub-Saharan Africa, has been one of the leading areas for floating LNG projects. So if you look at the resources in Namibia, the current extent of development in the markets, which currently is very limited. One of the ways to unlock gas developments is to deploy some sort of dual exploration and domestic project. So an export project through FLNG can really drive the economics for a project and deliver gas into the market. But in an economy like Namibia, looking for some gas resources to develop the domestic market, it's a very different market in Namibia to whether it's Europe or Asia, that you can develop something that delivers gas to both, for example. So that's something that we're looking out for, but probably much more sort of medium long term. Yeah, so if I step back to the oil projects, now these are multi-billion-dollar projects. So just the magnitude of investment is really significant. So the companies that are making these investments and any finance that's provided, the state of the oil and gas market today is that all companies are really super focused on managing their expenses, making their investment choices is very carefully. So there's no magic money pot here that people are going to bring to Namibia. The projects have to compete, they have to be really efficient, and the partners that are going to invest in them need to be really confident in these investments are the right projects, the right investments. So getting all of that lined up, what are the returns in the projects? What are the risks involved? What does the emissions profile look like? All of these things need to be in really good shape and compete in what's really a global market. And when it comes to deep water projects, there are not a long list of companies that are operating deep water projects. So it's a very small list of companies. And what they're looking at is the resources are really well defined, the development plans are really robust. And in a place like Namibia, that can be challenging where there is no pre-existing industry. So all of that has to be developed from ground up. So whether that's port infrastructure that was designed more for the fishing market, not for large oil and gas activities. If there's any onshore infrastructure that has to be developed from scratch, The labour force. There's going to need to be people to operate these projects, and typically both companies that operate and the host countries will be looking to see that the domestic market's got a big role to play. So thinking of how to bring all the required engineers and operators to a position where they can run these projects. So whether it's the resources, the projects, the finances, or the labour force, really for the Namibia projects, all of these things are going to require serious thought and serious effort to get to a point where all of this comes together and allows Namibia to get to the point of first oil. So traditionally, if you look at deep water oil globally, you would normally expect to see one of the majors or companies such as Woodside or CNOOC or Petrobras that have got the experience and the know-how to develop really sort of mega projects, which is really at the cutting edge of the industry with really deep water. And particularly in Namibia, some of the rocks or the gas content can be a real challenge. So these are the big players that bring that capability to these kinds of challenges, and that's what they do, and that's what they're good at is taking on what initially might seem like just enormous challenges that need to be overcome. These are the companies that do that. That's their thing. They'll come along and resolve what's the best way to proceed here? How do we tackle this? And they've got the confidence of the market and their shareholders to make that investment happen. But even then, they'll partner up. So we see, for example, Qatar Energies partnering with both Shell and Total Energies in Namibia, and then we know that Galp currently is undergoing a partner selection process to bring in another company, and we expect it should be a big company with capabilities in deep water. So the big companies they bring, it's the technical project management capability, but it's also the financial capability. So I think the role for the big companies is very clear. But something that we see in Namibia is some of the smaller players coming in and picking up stakes in licenses. And if you think about the life cycle of exploration through to development, some of the smaller companies, and on the panel this morning, we had Chief Executive Officer of Santana and also Chief Executive Officer of Origin. And these companies, if you think about the life cycle, they've got a bit more of a niche role to play, but it's an important part of that value creation story. So if you take the acreage, which is really, it's perhaps had 2D seismic, and then that's maybe quite old, is they might take an interest in a block, and then they might reprocess 2D seismic, they might commission some 3D seismic, and what they can do is take what might be some leads and firm those up to drillable prospects, and then look to farm out to a bigger company that might drill a well or might carry them. So that's an important part of the evolution of the Orange Basin, because we've seen 25 big wells, but to really sort of explore it out, same again might be needed. So there's a lot about bringing ideas and sort of defining what are those next prospects to get after. We see that Rhino Resources as well, operating its license area, again, selecting what are the prospects. So that's the sort of the role, I think, of smaller companies. It brings ideas and a little bit of progress on that sort of definition of that early exploration phase.